To Wuhan, in China first, where preparations are underway for the historic talks between the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping. The two leaders are expected to have informal talks on a range of issues. No agenda has been set for the meeting and no formal agreement or MOU is expected to be signed in the end. Talks are expected to be broad-based. The two leaders are likely to address the substantive aspects of bilateral ties. President Xi is already in Wuhan and the Prime Minister Modi will be leaving for China this evening. These are the visuals of the hotel where Indian Prime Minister will be staying. I'm joined by our journalist from Beijing, Gaurav Sharma. Gaurav, tell me why has this city been chosen? Tell our viewers the importance of Wuhan when it comes to the Communist Party.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I'm asking you, can you...
See,
yes, go ahead.
See, if you see, when we spoke, when we were talking to the Vice Foreign Minister day before yesterday, and we asked why they chose Wuhan and why not any other city. So Kong Shunyao said that prior to Wuhan, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has visited Shanghai, Hangzhou, and Beijing before, and we wanted to choose Wuhan because it's in the central China, and it has its own importance. It has a Yangtze River, it's called Yellow River, and it said that U.S. President Richard Nixon also visited the city in 1967 and had a breakthrough talk with Mao Zedong, and it also has a Mao Zedong villa. The Communist Party leader Mao Zedong, or the founder of Communist China, Mao Zedong had a villa here. In fact, he had a villa in Hangzhou also. So it has it's a great historic importance. It's in the central of China. So yes, it has a historic importance.
So how will the meeting go along, the days to come? Can you just brief us about the itinerary? What's they going to look like for Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi?
Well, Karthike, there has been no itinerary which has been shared with us or with the Chinese media. To be very frank, we are not aware when they are going to meet. However, what we are aware of is what we have been told is there are several meetings lined up. So there is no itinerary which has been given to us. What we have got to know so far is maybe they will go to the nearby East Lake and they might amble down there. They might have a boat ride also. So we all know, since you also know that it's going to have they are going to have heart-to-heart conversation. So it will be broad-based and open-minded conversation. However, we cannot say that substantial issues are not going to come up, and we also cannot say that both leaders will not discuss contentious issues. But we are waiting for the brief. Maybe tomorrow, if we are briefed, we get to know what they discuss and what they are going to discuss. But so far, both the sides, Chinese as well as Indian side, have made it clear that they are not going to announce the outcome of this meeting. However, they have already said that they might arrive at an important consensus to resolve the outstanding issues between both the countries.
But then, Gaurav, what's the larger agenda? A freewheeling conversation without an end, or to have a freewheeling conversation privately about issues which are contentious or which become contentious when they are put in public discourse?
Yeah, so both sides again have said that we are going to release the outcome. I don't think so that there will be no. I'm sure there will be something on the agenda. If President Xi Jinping, who's also considered the second powerful man after Donald Trump. In fact, some diplomats also call him the most powerful man in the world, leader in the world. He cannot fly from Beijing to Wuhan only to have a heart-to-heart conversation and not to discuss contentious issues. It is going to be there. I'm sure the trade war and other issues are going to come up, and I think the border dispute and the long-standing border dispute between India and China, which is a soaring issue, is going to come up. And I'm sure, but they say that they want to keep media at arm's length this time, and they want to discuss it in their own, and they want to just go forward from here. And they said whatever the outcome will be, they will be releasing it in timely manner.
And last question to you. Last question to you, Gaurav, if you can still hear me. Apart from the interpreter, which is going to be there, any other person who's going to be part of the meeting? Because that's what is being reported in the Indian media, that one interpreter is going to be there.
Yeah, there will be interpreter, but apart from that, what we have got to know, and there will be no one. So there will be no national security advisor or our foreign secretary or their counterpart who will be there in the meeting. So I think what we have got to know, that there will be only interpreters.
Thank you, Gaurav, for this update. My colleague Gaurav Sharma, who is giving us update from Beijing. Very soon our correspondent Palki Upadhyay will also be there. So bottom line is that it's going to be a unique meeting, one-to-one, without an end, conversational, where anything and everything under the sun will be discussed. Now, meanwhile, after China, now India too has said that there will be no outcome document after the Shri Modi meeting in Wuhan. The Indian ambassador to China, Gautam Bambale, has said that no MOU or agreement would be signed at the informal meeting between the two leaders. There would be no agenda for the talks. The two leaders are expected to have a walk in park or take a boat ride in Wuhan. The idea is to give them an atmosphere in which they can talk freely, candidly, and frankly. He said this is a strategic communication at an overarching level, and the objective is to understand each other better.
An informal summit between two major leaders of the world. This is probably happening for the first time. In the past, we have had experiences where there is a formal visit, there's a formal component of a visit, and then 1 or 2 hours or maybe half a day is spent between the leaders meeting informally. In this particular visit, the entire visit is going to be informal. And when we say it is informal, the main elements of an informal summit, and in this particular informal summit between Prime Minister Mr. Modi and President Mr. Xi Jinping of China, the main elements will be that there is going to be no set agenda for their talks. It is not that there is a long agenda through which the two leaders will work through. There will be no set agenda. They will be in a very informal setting, a friendly setting. They will probably have a walk in the park, or they might have a boat ride on the East Lake here in Wuhan. And while they're doing this, they will be discussing various issues between the two of them.
Wuhan is located in China's landlocked Hubei province. The announcement of the summit was made by the Indian and Chinese foreign ministers last Sunday. The two leaders will seek to reset bilateral ties post-Doklam crisis in August last year. China and India were locked in a 73-long-day military standoff in Doklam sector near Sikkim. The two nations disengaged the troops from the disputed side and agreed to defuse the tension from the plateau. And I'm joining live with our correspondent, Palki Upadhyay from Hong Kong. Palki, who is on her way to Wuhan, will be covering this important meet for us. Palki, my question to you is, are the two sides all set for the big meeting, and what's the buzz on the ground?
There is a lot of buzz on the ground. We are on our way to Wuhan, and we can tell you that the excitement is palpable. The President of China, Mr. Xi Jinping, is already in Wuhan to welcome the Indian Prime Minister, who should reach there in a few hours from now. And if you look at the official communication coming from both sides, there's a lot of expectation management. They're all telling you not to expect a breakthrough, but it's already being called historic. It's already being called a game changer, because 12 months back, such a meeting was inconceivable. There was the two countries were locked in an eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation. They walked back from the brink of war, and now to present the leaders as old friends meeting to discuss relations between the two countries, to discuss the general direction that the world is taking, is incredible. And we are being told that this is not your regular traditional summit. The diplomats will be out of the equation. There will be no official protocol, just the interpreters and the heads of state taking a walk in the park, going for a boat ride, and essentially sharing their thoughts with each other. So very little in concrete, tangible terms is expected, but this is this is going to go a long way in terms of building confidence and cementing ties between the two countries.
But Palki, any clarity on the agenda and the talking points? Is there any clarity there?
Well, both sides have been at pains to tell the press that there is no agenda, that this is a freewheeling conversation and they're not bringing anything concrete to the talking table and they're not looking at taking away anything concrete, just an exchange of ideas. But one can make a calculated guess as to what is going to be discussed. Trade is going to be topping the list of talking points, I assume. Protectionism is something that both countries have spoken about, especially in the wake of the US-China trade tariff tiff. So that is something that China is also keen on, and India is also keen on looking at Chinese investments into this market. So that will be discussed, of course. Border resolution, I do not know. I cannot say for sure. The BRI is something that China has been wanting India to get on board with, and the foreign minister's statement said that India's position remains unchanged, but that may well change with the Prime Minister wanting to make a splash possibly. But this is all speculation, I must underscore. Nothing concrete in terms of what the agenda is has been spelt out to the media. We've been repeatedly told that this is just a conversation, this is just the setting of a stage.
This is Modi's fourth visit in 4 years. How important is China in his list of foreign policy priorities?
Oh, China is very, very important to the Prime Minister's scheme of things, and if the dehyphenation of the Israel-Palestine relationship was the high point of his foreign policy achievements last year, this informal summit would certainly take the cake this year. This is unlike anything that has been attempted anywhere in the world, and many experts take on this. It has been saying that the West was trying to play India against China for its own personal benefits, and Japan and the US had orchestrated this confrontation between India and China. But this is the reflection of how mature these two countries are, how statesmanlike their leaders are, which is why they're coming together to bury their differences and make this century an Asian one. That is the kind of sentiment coming out of the Chinese press, which is saying that last year's confrontation was an aberration, and this is not how India and China see each other, and this is not the path for these two countries going forward. And it's only this Prime Minister with the kind of strength he has in domestic politics who can bring about this instrumental change, they say, and that's something that the Chinese leadership also sees. On his part, Xi Jinping is also among the strongest, many say, since Mao. So when two strong leaders put their mind to something, the impossible can be achieved, is what we're being told by our contemporaries in the Chinese press, and that is how they're looking at this meeting of Xi Jinping and Narendra Modi.